What is going on YouTube? This is the LA Prepper, and today we're going to do a quick video talking about equipment. So Prepper Bob, I don't know if this was in response to a comment I made or if he was just feeling the fire in the belly, but he's been working on his property, something I hope to be doing myself someday, and he was talking about some equipment that he was having not great luck with, including the ATV, this Husqvarna mower, this other riding tractor thing, riding mower. Um, and so so I'm, kind of a mechanical person, and not to say, I could spend a few minutes and fix it, but I'm always kind of looking at like solutions to problems, right? So Prepper Bob, what would your ideal situation be for the ATV, for the mower, for the push mower, the all-wheel drive one, and for the riding mower? If they somehow got magically fixed, would you use them on your property? Um, or would you sell them because maybe you don't need them? Or what like your long-term goals are for that equipment? Because I want to help you out with that equipment. Obviously, I'm here in LA. It's a little hard for me to kind of... Oh, I got to turn the oven off real quick. We got some sausage pancakes going, and one of the tricks I like to use is to conserve energy. Sometimes I'll turn the oven off and just kind of let like the last 5 minutes, because when the oven's cooling down, it's going from like 380 degrees to, I don't know, 275. So it's still going to be cooking the stuff that's in there, in fact. So I'm just wondering, PB, like in a perfect world, what would be your goals for that equipment? Because I have a feeling that the ATV is one thing. All motors, they all kind of follow like the same plan. They want spark, they want fuel, they want compression in order to kind of be happy, copacetic beings. And of course, when things haven't run for a while, it kind of turns into a bigger headache because the fuel is old and gunky. Fuel that's old and gunky turns into varnish, and of course the carbs get kind of gunky, and the needles get plugged, the floats get stuck, and it kind of turns into a little bit of a headache. But depending on whether or not, depending on a few different factors, it may or may not be, you may or may not be able to kind of like bring them back into running condition in a few hours, or at least get them running enough to where you might be able to sell it to someone. Because when I see equipment like that, I just see like dollar signs. Like that Husqvarna mower that you paid. I think you said you paid $400 for it or something. If you get it running, you might be able to sell it to someone for like $200, $250. Something, right? And of course, you can take that $200 or whatnot and kind of invest it into other stuff, maybe solar panels, ammo, a new firearm, whatever projects you're working on. So I just wanted to kind of ask if you had any interest in trying to do like a virtual repair thing or something, because I know, like, I've got a little bit of mechanical aptitude. I know some of the other people that I'm sub to, like the Hands-On channel. He's working on getting a Honda ATC all-terrain cycle up and running. Now, the riding mower is a little bit more of a headache because, it has like belts and a bunch of different stuff, and that's a little bit more of a complicated beast. But the ATV and the all-wheel drive Husqvarna mower, I think there's a pretty decent chance that in maybe give or take about 8 hours for each of those, you could kind of have them, like in a weekend, I think you might be able to make some decent progress on it. So I'm gonna I'm going to recommend one thing um, for both of those implements would be to maybe just drain the tank, put a little bit of fresh gas in, like a half a gallon of fresh gas, get some starting fluid, spray some starting fluid into the carb, and just give it a few pulls. Because if you can get it to kind of pop and turn over with some starting fluid, that means that your compression is decent, it means your spark is good, and it essentially means that you're having a fuel delivery issue, which in most cases is just kind of gunk in the carburetor. Most cases. Sometimes it's a little bit more complicated that, like maybe if it has an automatic choke, those things can kind of be a headache. But and I'm sure based on what you were kind of talking about the equipment, it doesn't sound like you're very in love with the idea of kind of putting time and energy into it. But if you want to put some time and energy into it, Prepper Bob, I would love to try to help you kind of diagnose what's going on, even from afar. I know that other people like Hands-On Channel, he'd probably be more than willing to kind of help give you some insight on how to get those going. And maybe, just be able to move on and like get them out of your life. If you're not in love with owning them and keeping them and kind of trying to get them a little bit better working order, at least if you can get them running a little bit and to get them to kind of pop and turn over, even if just running for a few minutes, that's still at least enough to show someone that wants to buy it that it's not, it's not that far gone, right? It's one thing to say, oh, it hasn't run in 2 years, but it's another thing to say, well, it kind of runs, but it runs a little bit rough. It needs a carb rebuild. The carb needs to be cleaned or whatever. So I think you have some real potential there to either potentially kind of get them up and running, or to get them running enough to where you can sell it, get them out of your life, and then use that money to invest in other stuff. So just thought I'd kind of share with you. I'm really loving the project, the progress that you're making. I was this close to making a video. I was gonna tell you to like pound a big pipe through the middle of that hay bale and get some ropes and pulleys and get some sort of complicated contraption up, and then I see you pushing that thing like Hercules, down the little hill to fill in that ditch. So I decided you didn't need my help with that video, but looking good to see you out and working in the field, Prepper Bob. Just thought I would share a little bit of feedback on maybe some potential thoughts for getting those machines up and running. And it's like anything in life. It's just a skill that you kind of learn and pick up through the years. No one is born knowing how to clean a carb, knowing how to get an engine running properly. It's something that takes a lot of time and a lot of experience and a lot of energy and a lot of Googling and the right parts and a little bit of luck and a little bit of intuition. It's a life skill, and I think it's a really awesome life skill to be able to take something that isn't running and get it to a situation where it is running. And that's just my 2 cents anyways, Prepper Bob. So keep up the great work on the homestead. Love to see the progress that you're making. I'd love to see a lot of the other preppers that I'm sub to and that are sub to me right now share that part of their life. It's one thing to say like, oh, here's my knife and here's my Altoid first aid kit, but you can only watch so many of those videos. I really love to see people working and making progress on their projects and developing their homestead into what they want it to be. So keep up the great work, Prepper Bob. Looking forward to seeing more update videos, weather permitting. And until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and keep prepping.